Good morning, traders. Welcome to StockCast. Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans out there, and thank you for your service. I have several that are my family members. A brother who's a lifelong Army, my father, and another brother in the Marines, and a couple nephews. Good morning, James. How are you doing?
Todd, good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. You actually served our country as a contractor, but you were in Desert Storm. Is that correct?
Desert Storm. How old do you think I am, Todd? Desert Storm was in the early 90s.
Yeah, that's true. You were in Iraq or something like that, right?
Yeah, I was, last time I was in Iraq. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been all over the place. I've worked with all kind of interesting groups across the world.
Yep. Brian Latchford, thank you for the $11.11 tip.
Oh, Brian, thank you.
That's kind of cute on November 11th. And today's a special day in my life also. It's my daughter's 17th birthday.
Happy birthday, Annie.
So I'll tell you, James, you'll understand in 15, 16 years, when you go from being the man of your daughter's dreams to, hey, Dad, can I have $40 to get my nails done?
Oh, man, I'll be honest. Man, 17. I hate seeing those pictures of her boyfriend with that stupid little grin on his face. Just want to get him in a headlock, you
know? Yep. There's definitely some truth there. All right, so what's going on in the market today?
All right, so Dow futures are barely up at 24 points now. S&P futures are up 17 points. And, man, honestly, who knows what the freaking market is going to do? I just saw an article this morning talking about inflation. And the gist of the article was basically saying, what if we're wrong about inflation and the issue is really demand? That we actually have so much demand and blah, 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 all this crap. I mean, I don't know. If that would be the case, it would completely defy all economics that we've been taught our entire lives. So who knows what the government is doing, put it this way, whatever the government is doing, they're trying to manipulate something here for their own benefit. That's it. That is only it.
And they have a sidekick culprit that's helping them deliver their message.
Yeah.
The media.
Exactly. Whoever controls the media controls the future.
My wife said to me today, she's like, man, we're facing some inflation. And I said, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So let me take one quick look at the pre-market. Okay, still really nothing going on in the pre-market. We have a few little pre-market movers. We have RWLK, but it's only moved 12%. Nothing much going on there. PPSI, it's making another move. It's up 26%. Let me just throw it up on the chart really quickly. I'm not going to get too in-depth about it, but okay. All right, so here's PPSI on the daily chart. Now, the thing to watch here, and this is probably where people are going to get smoked, unless if PPSI has like some amazing catalyst, I really don't see it going up and doing anything. Now, for these plays, how I like to play them personally, when you have a major bullish candle and then it pulls back the days to come, I like to just hold off and wait for it to break the highs of that first major candle. Now, it is significantly higher, but the thing is, like, buying, and everybody talks about like buy the dip. People truly don't understand the art of buying the dip. The same thing with scaling in. It's an art, and I can't tell you how many times I feel like I've laid it out there, the art of it, and to me, it is extremely simple. I have videos on it, but people just can't grasp the art of scaling in or buying the dip. Now, buying the dip, again, there are so many variables that come into play when buying the dip. And those variables change on a moment's notice. This is why I personally don't push out any alerts saying buy the dip, because I could literally tweet that out, and then 1 minute later, all of the dynamics change. And then, if I went back to like, hey, don't buy that dip anymore. Get rid of the dip you just bought, because you're gonna end up buying what I would like to call a dippy dip. When you end up buying the dip's dip, so that's a dippy dip. That's literally a word I made up last year. But so again, there's an art to buying the dip. Now, the reason why everybody screams out buying the dip is because we've been in such a bull market for so long that everyone has gotten comfortable with buying the dip. Oh, Johnny Blue, thank you, my man, for that huge tip there.
Johnny Blue, thank you very much. This is for your daughter to get her nails done. That's nice. That's
So people have been, trading in this bull market for so long that buying the dip has usually, not all the time, but usually played out in the long term, at least in the context of large caps. Now, for small caps, it's different. Like, buying the dip becomes harder for small caps. So that's why I like to wait until it breaks the overall highs. I mean, yeah, I could get it it's going for 840 right now, pre-market, which is right in here. But, I know the people watching would be like, yeah, well, I bought in yesterday at $7. I bought the dip. I'm right, James. Like I said, it's situational. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but there is an art to it. And a lot of people have gotten lucky for so long with buying the dip just recklessly. And it's gonna screw people up in the long term. But anyways, so the reason why I like to buy above the highs of like a first major candle is if I was to try to buy the dip right in here, and then it starts going up to say where it is now at like 840, I'm sitting here, I'm happy. Like, the dopamine is releasing. Everything, you're feeling good. And then next thing you know, big ass red candle. And then you start to think, it's going to bounce. The next thing you know, that thing is hitting $4. That's why for small caps like this, I don't buy the dip. When they had that first major runner, I look to get out on that day. And if I look to play it again, I wait for it to break the high of that first major runner. That's how I play it. Because if it breaks the high, say back here at 1244, if it breaks this high, then there's clearly a catalyst there that's going to send it propelling a lot higher. And again, I know people are like, yeah, but James, but if you buy it right down here at $8, you make that much more money. I hear you, but that's not how the world works, because you could get faked out. And a lot of times you will get faked out. It needs to break the high to confirm momentum. That's all I'm saying here. Now, if you guys get in at buying a dip at a good price and you set that stop loss in and it's moving up and your stop loss is at your average cost, okay, cool. If it pulls back, it's not a losing trade. So that's all I just wanted to say on PPSI really quickly. But overall, like, I'm not watching this anymore until it breaks above this huge green candle right here. So that is PPSI. Let's talk about RXNT.
RXNT. Let's call it we had from yesterday in the show.
Yes.
And then we put it out in a Twitter alert. And
when we first started talking about it, it was somewhere right in here, right before the show. And the breakout point was 1163. That was the true breakout point, and showed you guys yesterday. If you put it on the 15-minute chart, you can see that breakout point right there on this 15-minute candles. So the breakout point was 1163. Now we broke above it and we ended up hitting a high of 1251. At first, on the Twitter side, I alerted entry point at 1163, and then I threw out just a generic stop at 968, and then after it triggered, I was able to have some more candles worked out, and I eventually moved to stop up to 1070. So it went up to 1251, and then the bears were all over it. Hammered this thing. Went down, triggered at 1070 for stop. I got stopped out. I only had 500 shares, but for some reason, there's a lot of people who still held on. I don't know why. Still held on, or they had a massive position size, which I can never understand that. Why people always feel the need to go all in on every trade.
So I heard from several members talking about it because I posted yesterday that I had a winning trade with it, and people were like, how did you have a winning trade with it? It didn't hit the target zones. So I think it's really important there's several points I want to make here. One is that your account size and how you manage your account is your decision. James and I trade different level accounts. James and I have different entries and exits. Not always, but sometimes we do. So, for example, yesterday, we both entered it at 1163, but when it spiked over $12, I set a trailing stop loss to just a few pennies above my entry in case it pulled back real quick. Basically protected my trade. It did that. When it dropped under 11, my entry was 1163. I was watching it for a little bit, and I got back in. I bought half position at 1130, bought another half position at 1140. My average was 1135. So I'm back in. It spiked over 12 again. Did the same thing, set a trailing stop loss, but this time I set it a little bit higher, and I had a better entry price, so I made a few more dollars. I only made a couple $100, but I only traded 500 shares 2 times, first time and the second time. Now, James and I were live together yesterday, and we're watching it, and at one point, right after I sold, it made a nice little run, and we kind of joked how I took one for the team. But he wanted a higher selling target, so he held on. And then it took a dip, and then it was bouncing around the break-even point. And I even said to him, I go, hey, you can get out of this break-even right now? And he goes, no. He goes, I'm comfortable with my stop loss. I'm comfortable with my stop loss in the trade, and I like where it's at. And this is the real important point here, is that each of us had a trading plan on how to get in and what we're going to do to get out. And at one point, after I sold and it started to make a run, my small gain of a couple $100 I took, but I risked losing out on a couple $1,000 win because I had a higher stop loss than others. Now it turned out to be a profitable trade for me and not for others. But to James' earlier point, if you're upset about having a losing trade out of that trade yesterday, you definitely were probably sized in too big, and you probably didn't have a strategy on how to get out. And if you're unhappy with what happened, then you have to rethink your strategy on your exits on your trades.
Exactly. I mean, and this ain't like, I'm not like trying to, I'll use a more PC word. I'm not trying to like PP measure with anyone. There could be kids watching, Todd.
There could be. I hope there are.
So when I see a lot of people taking position sizes larger than mine, I'm always like, damn, like I know your account size is not that large. And this actually is the reason why I don't tell anyone my position sizes anymore. And I learned this lesson about 2 years ago when I would physically live trade in front of people. And And I noticed that people with like $5,000 accounts would have the same position size that I had. And here I am. Then I was trading with a $600,000 account. And I'm like, I have over a $600,000 account, guys. You have a $5,000 account. Why is your position size the same as mine when I've been telling y'all this is my first entry here? Like I just took a starter position. I expect to add a lot more here. And then, the trade works out for me. And then the end they're like, I blew up my account. I'm like, how the freak did you blow up your account? And they're like, well, I had a few $1,000s in my account and I didn't have nothing else to scale in. I wasn't able to scale in. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It always aggravated me. That's why I don't tell anybody my position size, because people for some reason just try to like match it, to get the same profits. The thing is, and I've been teaching this for years, scaling in. You have to scale in. I mean, you can get lucky and nail an entry and it just keeps running and you never see red at all. That's getting lucky. And like, I'll be honest, not to sound boastful, but I'm a pretty good trader. I know it. Even I cannot not nail perfect entries all the time. And I know to expect red. Like, I know when I enter something that, for instance, yesterday, RNXT, I knew when I entered in at 1163. So I had an order in at 1163, and it actually became like extremely volatile right there. And I don't know if TD Ameritrade was just slow on filling, but it actually worked in my benefit because my average was 1157. And, it was just kind of chopping around. Let me go to the 5-minute chart here. It was just kind of like chopping around, and I did see some red. But then it didn't take long before I saw fat profits as well. But, when I was moving my stop loss and I get up to 1070, I knew that at 1070, and I'll just draw a line here for everyone to see. I knew at 1070, so this red line I just drew, I'll take these Bollinger Bands off. So I knew that was the breakdown point. So I had 500 shares. And the risk reward, and I'm not really a risk reward type, trader. I don't do the whole crap of, I won't take a trade unless if it's a 1 to 5. I'm risking $1 to make 5, whatever people freaking say. I don't do a lot of crap. But I do look at the risk versus reward in my own mind, and that is, if I have 500 shares here, I'm okay losing $500 if I have to let it be, because the potential to the upside is significantly greater, far significant. But when I always hear people talking about how they went all in and then they didn't even honor any stop losses whatsoever, and then they're still holding on to that shit when it's 4 or 5 points lower, and I'm always just like, what are you guys doing? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your freaking life right now? I don't get it. Like, and there's nothing I can do to help you. There's nothing that Todd can do to help you. Nothing that Johnny can do to help you. There's nothing that anyone in this industry can do to help you with discipline. And if you're not able to be disciplined and stick with a plan, then you need to really like pull back on your position sizes. Like, take extremely small position sizes if you just refuse to just ever sell. That's the only thing I can tell you. So, yeah, I mean, Todd came out, as a winner yesterday. I came out as a loser yesterday. And That's just the stock market. That's really just the best way that I can say it right there. That's the stock market. Now, 1163 is still the true breakout point, but there are so many variables that have to take play now, especially with this thing now at 730 right here. So many variables. And that's going to be, one, you need the bulls to find more interest in this. Two, this company will probably need to push another catalyst to squeeze out all the shorts, because those shorts are heavy in this thing right now. And they're going to sit on this and try to ride this down back to where it started.
To zero.
Yeah. Now, that I don't understand with the bears. Like,
you have about 90 seconds to the market.
Okay. With the bears, if you jump in and ride something down, I don't understand why they try to ride a trade down. Literally, they're like trying to ride it down to zero. And that has never made sense to me. Like, take your profits. But yeah, that's what I see. Or, that's pretty much RNXT as a whole. And I'll be bullish on it again once it breaks above 1163. But until then, anything under 1163, it's a no-go for me. So I appreciate y'all tuning in today. That's all I have. Todd, do you have anything?
No, have a good day. Be careful of your trades. Be smart with them. Protect your capital. And thank you to our veterans.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today, and we will catch y'all in the next one.